You42 podcast.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, doing mighty fine. Doing mighty fine indubitably, I do declare. Mighty fine indeed.
This is annoying as ever. All right, cool. Thanks for joining us here.
Yeah, we'll try to make this as painful and as uncomfortable as possible for you. That's
Great.
what we're here for.
I guess mostly just want to talk to you about Dead by Midnight. Tony Reames, I'm pronouncing that correctly, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I like that.
MemoryWedge Productions. What was your role in Dead by Midnight exactly?
That's a good question. It kind of depended on what we were doing. I co-wrote and directed Jersey Devil,
Nice.
and then I did first AD on a couple of them. I helped produce a couple of them. Pretty much any role that needed filled. That's sort of where Tori, Jay, and I sort of just filled in the gaps as to whatever was needed.
Right on.
Gotcha.
It's like a jack of all trades.
How many of the episodes were directed by other people?
The first episode is the wraparound, and Tori directed that.
That's Dead
And then-
Air?
Dead Air,
Yeah.
correct. And then Jersey Devil was me, and then Creepy Dolls was Eric Davis, and then Lost Laundry was Jay Holloway, Day 3 was Anissa, and Blindside was Tori.
Is this sort of like the horror genre in general? Is that something you and Tori have always heavy influence
Yeah.
for you guys?
Yeah, it really started with, I met Tori and Jay. So basically how it all happened was, one of my best friend went to high school with Greg Bishop, who was a director, and Greg got brought on to do the VHS series. I don't know if
Right.
you've seen any
Oh,
of
yeah.
those.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
Yeah,
Love 'em.
but so Greg was brought on for the third one, and so I just happened to reach out to Greg, and Greg was like, "Well, come on down," and so I basically worked on VHS and then Siren with Greg, and on VHS I worked with Nick, and we just sort of talked about like what we were into and what we did. Nick's like, "Well, then you got to meet Tori." So then I met Tori for one day because Tori came in to do some behind the scenes stuff because he was going to do all the not all, but he did some of the visual effects on VHS.
Right. Oh, very
Tori
nice.
was there for one day, and I got to talking with him, and Tori was in the middle of doing a horror feature himself,
Right.
and they needed some Steadicam stuff, and I said, well, you can use my camera if you want. That's sort of how we hooked up, and ever since then we've sort of worked together on
Two peas in the pod.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds like you guys definitely hit it off on that first day of meeting, and it really shows in First Dead by Midnight, and just hearing what you guys got coming out for the second one. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. When do you guys start shooting for that? Next year? Beginning of next year?
Yeah. So we've been in pre-production already. We've had 2 or 3 meetings, and about half the scripts are done.
Nice.
And so Hannah, for her short, she's bringing in. Okay, so she was on a movie that's not out yet, but it should be out, and I think it's going to be awesome. By Darren Lynn Bousman, the guy who did Saw 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
Right.
He did a movie called Saint Agatha, and that's coming out hopefully very soon. So check for it.
Oh, yeah.
She's in that. And then she got together with I think the woman who produced it and wrote it so they're working together on hers. They needed, because of the TV season and the way that's structured, sort of middle of December through end of January is
Right.
pretty much a dead time.
Okay.
So we're going to shoot hers at the top of the year, probably first or second week of January, just because of the scheduling.
Gotcha.
And then we take February, March. I think we start again in April, May, June, and July for the rest of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, this has to be, especially I would imagine from the first one, because it's multiple entries into one, conglomerate, so to speak, trying to get everybody together, or just trying to schedule all of the people to meet up to film these things has to be a task all into itself, because I would imagine if it's just one person
really
directing, one person producing, and then kind of seamlessly present them as one entity, like just the amount of people in something like that had to be just a massive undertaking.
It's a lot, and this one's gonna get even trickier because we're trying to go for some bigger names. Probably
Right.
have to end up flying some people in, and just
Oh,
sort
boy.
of logistics of it becomes really interesting because Hannah's doing hers in January.
Right.
However, her character probably will be filming in, or let's say April, and she's got a bigger role this time. So there's a lot of like logistical, and then
Right.
Davi is now co-host on the Burt Show, and so
Yeah.
her schedule is just slam packed.
Something we've been trying to steer this podcast in the direction of is talking about the creative process in general, just sort of ripping it apart, whether it's for video games or for you, film and video stuff. In that vein, I think it gets overlooked, the importance of pre-production when it comes to anything like this. Like something this large, you've really got to put the time in, for writing the scripts, planning everything out. The more time you spend in pre-production, the smoother the production will go.
Easier of a
for sure.
flow.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, it's funny because Anissa, last time when she did day 3, I believe that was her first time really doing something of that level.
Mm-hmm.
And I was first AD on it, and I felt like I was constantly just like, no, Anissa, no, not time, And so this time, she got it then, but now she really gets it. Now she's dealing with her friend Jackie, who wrote her episode.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I keep telling Anissa, I'm like, Anissa, if you can say no now to things that we can't do on the day,
Right.
that gives you more time to say yes on the day that we can do
Very
things.
very wise. Yeah.
That's
So
a good point.
you're so right how big pre-production is. Like one big thing, I'll give you an example, was the one thing I really wanted to do on Jersey Devil was I wanted to blow up the shed. That was like
Right. I remember you talking about that.
I spent months in pre-production on that, lining up pyro guys, figuring out permits, everything. And then not at the last minute, but it came to a make or break point where I was just like, if I go forward with this, so many other things won't get done that need to get done that I was
Right.
like, you know what? We're just not going to do it, And so in pre-production, I was able to cut that out. So on the day, we weren't even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Time saver.
Yeah, that's one of those things you can only do once too. It's not
Yeah.
Yeah.
really hard to put the shed back together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and we did the so one example of that was the egg smash scene. We did that practically,
Right,
and then
right.
you guys came in and digitally did some stuff too.
Right.
We only had one set of eggs. We actually only had two eggs.
The most valuable eggs on set.
We had 3 cameras on it, and Davi was there, and she was super nervous.
A little bit.
The whole day, we were like backed up to a rail yard, so we just had constant trains. So we had to wait for the perfect like noise and
Yeah.
fog and everything to get it right. And I was like, well, no pressure, Davi. We only have one take of this.
We gotta wait for the 12 o'clock express to pass by now, folks.
Right. I mean, it all worked out. In hindsight, I wasn't even really worried about it because I thought, you know what? If we have to do it again and we have to figure out something, you always sort of figure it out on the day.
Right.
But you just don't want to.
Yeah, eliminating anything sneaking up on you. It's interesting that you say about day 3 that was one of her first sort of, shots at this. I thought day 3 was one of the strongest episodes in Dead by Midnight.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
She'd been an actor for, years, and she's directed a couple little things.
Mm-hmm.
When I say little, I mean short film, not like scale or anything. But this was her first time where it was like, budgets and things where I was like, Anissa, because there were a lot of things that on the day she was like, I need to get this. And I was like, you can get that, Anissa, but you're going to lose X, Y, and Z just because of time.
Right.
And now and the biggest problem, and I stressed this to her before, and now I think she really gets it. I said, it's really difficult to direct and star in your own project.
Right.
I said that you don't see that a lot, just because, and this was a good example because she spent so much time in the makeup chair that she couldn't really see what was going on in terms of the scenes. So Nick and I would sort of light the scenes and sort of get things prepped. And at one point, Mike was like, well, Tony, why are you doing this? This should be Anissa doing this. And I was like, yeah, he's right. You're right.
She's getting some teeth put in right now.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, but she's in makeup. And so that was and it slows it down,
Right.
where you only have so many eyes and hands that you can get on a situation. And so
Right.
that's why I said, I don't care what you do in this one, Anissa, please do not star and direct in it. Pick one.
Yeah,
One and the other.
Well, day 3, I mean, some of the imagery, I mean, most of the other episodes, they're all really good, but a lot of them have sort of this campy sort of humor,
Yes.
sort of running beneath them. But day 3, that was just all creepy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It was a very, very Cronenberg body horror type.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that actual, when she's bent over just sort of puking, was that just raw meat that you guys picked up from the grocery store to just toss?
Tartar, perhaps?
That's a good question. I do believe it was. So Alex Michael Petty was the one who did all of that on day 3. And I will say it was disgusting. Like, as gross as it looks there, it was really disgusting on the day. Like, seeing, because it was definitely meat. I just don't know what they had done to it, because it looked real, like, sinewy.
Yeah, it was real stringy.
Yeah, it was gross for sure. That was all him.
And that shot when she's, I guess, sort of rearing upward, and you can see her mouth open and the teeth and everything. That shot was beautiful.
Yeah,
that was
I
a good
love
one.
that. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That's the one she's like, I don't care what else we do, we're getting that shot. And I was sort of like on the fence about it. I was like, Anissa, we're so far behind, we're gonna lose other stuff. And she's like, I don't care, I want that shot. And as soon as we got that shot, I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah, I'm glad we got that shot.
Yeah, that was good. I did want to ask you too, another specific about these episodes is for creepy dolls, where in the world did you guys find so many dolls?
And they were so creepy.
This might be the craziest story of any story in the whole thing. When Eric came to the table with this story, I was like, oh, that's cool. Creepy dolls. I get it. That's a great, into a short. And so Tori's like, no, you don't understand. His mom collects these dolls.
Oh, really?
And I said,
oh my goodness.
And I said, oh, okay. And he goes, no. He goes, you still don't understand. He goes, every one of those dolls you see is a haunted doll, right? For real. Like, people around she's known as like the collector of haunted dolls. So whenever someone gets a doll that is like in their mind that's haunted or does some creepy stuff, they send it to her, right?
Okay, that makes more sense. That's less disturbing in a way. Well,
right. Well, until you're there, and just some really weird stuff went on in that house.
Oh,
like,
shite.
She's like when the last room when Johnson is shooting the dolls in that room.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that room looked. We didn't set dress that room at all.
I was wondering.
Holy smokes. Yeah.
Yeah. And you go in that room, and it's wall-to-wall dolls, and I'm not kidding, it's probably 15 degrees cooler in that room than anywhere else in the house.
So y'all are just taking some negative stuff with you guys as you leave.
Yeah. And it's even weirder. She's like, yeah, there's some weird stuff that goes on. Like, you'll be in there, and your camera batteries will run out of juice a lot faster in here.
Huh.
And I was like, that's weird. That's
weird.
And she said, I wouldn't touch any of the dolls if I were you.
That is the cue to leave.
That house was, I'm not joking, there were hundreds of those dolls.
Yeah.
There were so many dolls. Like, every room, like, you didn't really see any repeats of dolls other than the main ones, because every room was that full of these haunted dolls.
Holy smokes, that
like,
is...
She's been on TV with them, and they did a show about them. Yeah, it's for real.
And it's in that house, and they just stay in that house?
Yep, and she lives there.
Huh. Oh my god.
Eric grew up in this house, and if you knew Eric, you'd be like, okay, I get it.
Huh. That's funny, because a lot of the people behind horror content like this are such normal, nice people. Like you and Tori, you wouldn't guess that you guys are into horror, but that background, I think, it sets you up.
That definitely shines a light.
Yeah.
So the scene where Haley's character goes into the closet and turns around and she's crying.
Mm-hmm.
For that scene, we didn't tell her what was in the room.
Oh, God.
And that's her first take. And I led her into the room and the lights were off. And I think just Nick was in the room, and they got her in there, turned on the lights, and said, "All right, turn around."
Holy shit!
My goodness.
And it was all those clown dolls and all those creepy, like, they're called mourning dolls. They're the ones that they used to put in caskets of children that died.
Yikes.
Yeah, you can look that up. It's a real thing, and they are disgusting looking.
Yeah, that's.
Holy
We'll take you back for the sequel.
Yeah, y'all
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
use my CG stunt double for that one.
Yeah, you make use of that. If
That
you find
is
a house
crazy.
full of dolls.
Seriously, that is like the gold mine of real props there.
Do they do tours around Halloween, or is it just a personal collection?
Man, there's so many things off mic that I can tell you that are just like, whoa, like what? But I don't know. Like, she's the sweetest person too. Like, when you see her, she's so sweet and kind. And then you
Right.
go in this house of horrors that she lives in.
Wow.
Speaking of batteries dying faster than they normally should, how much of your life is spent charging batteries? I imagine it's a pretty high percentage of your life.
Yeah. Last week we were filming for Pretty Funny, and we were getting like 10 minutes on the battery, and I was like, man, Tori, my camera batteries are so old and so used now that I finally had to break down and buy new ones. And I did the math, and it's been 6 years of the same
Oh my
battery
goodness.
Oh wow.
to where like I think they were down to like half a cell. They wouldn't even last like 10 minutes on the camera anymore.
Sometimes, Tony, it's time to just let it go.
Yeah, let them go.
Yep.
Let it fly off into battery heaven.
I mean, you're just
Yeah.
surrounded. I remember when we were shooting some stuff up in North Georgia. You and Tori got there, and then I turned back around, and you guys are just covered in batteries and backpacks and cameras. It was like Transformers.
They're locked and loaded, ready to
It
record.
seems like all the weight and everything we carry is just batteries and lights.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the whole production.
The lifesavers.
That's really cool. So we're releasing Dead Air and Jersey Devil this Halloween. That's my impression at least.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how I understand it too.
So that's cool. It's good timing for this.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
So what? Just to sneak some information about Pretty Funny. So how's that going right now?
It's good. We have one more day of filming on the 28th, and the grand finale of the show.
Nice.
And it's going to be, it's one of those things where it could go one of two ways,
Okay.
and either way is going to be good.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But it's going to be nuts. Like, it's a crazy situation that they find themselves in, and I'm not even, I don't know. As I last understood it, we're filming at a brewery downtown that we're doubling as the cafe, Annie's Bistro, where they work. And I don't know if the location's aware of what we have planned, but
Oh,
man,
it will be.
yeah, it's going to be pretty nuts.
It's gonna be messy, I bet.
Yeah.
So it's still not to give anything away, but there's still cake involved. Is that still the?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, that's
Yeah.
cool. So that production's going well. I guess you guys are almost wrapping up.
There's so like I've been there just in a support role for these last couple episodes just to help with camera and things.
Right.
But there was one scene where there's one of the ladies, his name in the episode, her name is Sydney, and she's Asian. I don't know if she's supposed to be from Thailand. She sort of always plays on that in the jokes. And they did a sort of a runner where they all meet in the doorway and they're just having a discussion, and she throws out these little quips, and it's just one quip, but every take she was just rapid firing these things where no one could keep a straight face. And so finally we just had to just single her and just do like all of them at once just to get them out. And there was one that I came home and I told my wife, and I was like, I don't know why, but I have been laughing at this one comment all day. And like out of context, it's not funny at all, but it'll have to be, if it's not in the episode, it'll have to be a deleted scene just because
Make sure it's
it
in
is
the
so
credits at
outrageous.
the end at least.
Yeah, there's so many good little nuggets of comedy in it. I'm really excited for it.
Oh, good,
Excellent.
good. Have you found that cadence to work really well for you? Where you do some horror content, and then take a break and do some comedy? Is that refreshing?
Like, I'll be honest with you, and I said this to Tori a couple years ago. So, you know, I grew up a kid of the '80s. You know, I grew up.
Yep.
I was I saw Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3 in the theater. Young.
Wow.
I was young, but I saw them in the theater. You know, as a kid, I was like, oh, I love horror. And then as I got older, I was kind of like, you know, I don't love horror. I love horror comedy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like movies that have like a rewatch value. Like, for example, like I'll watch anything. So like I wouldn't never say don't watch Cannibal Holocaust, but I'm not going to watch it every week like it's on repeat, you know?
Right.
Whereas, for example, Return of the Living Dead or Shaun of the Dead or, movies like that, I could watch those every week.
Right.
I think for me, it's more about the comedy in it. And I don't think there's too much of a difference in terms of what they elicit from the audience from a comedy perspective or a horror perspective. It's both of sort of that cathartic release where you go in and you just want to get away from your everyday droning of whatever your life is and see something that'll either, take you away and entertain you. So whether that's horror or comedy, or in my case, I like, both.
Right.
So I love comedy. Like I will just as readily watch a comedy as I would a horror, no doubt.
Yeah.
If I'm not doing a horror comedy, or I don't know what else I would even be doing, but I would say comedy would be my second in line. Like I don't think you'll ever see like this new drama directed by me.
Yeah.
But it's just not it's not my thing. In fact, I would like to do like the one that we talked about doing, for You42 later was an action comedy that I'd like to do, because that's my other thing. Like I love, like if those three things were the only three things that existed in film, I'd be fine. Like that's probably 90% of what I watch anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of character in that, and just the experience of actually doing it. I think audiences and consumers don't really think about what it's like to do these things, and it's interesting. It's an adventure in itself.
For sure.
And then being able to mold two opposite ends of the spectrum, horror and comedy. When you can do it, I feel as though you can get you'll get a product that's what you're looking forward to.
Exactly. I feel like it's just like games. Like I was talking to this a woman who runs a film festival down here 2 weeks ago, and she said that she'd seen Dead by Midnight and she liked it. It was a lot of fun, and I was like, that's a great compliment, because to me that's all we wanted. Like Tori and I were like, I don't really care about making this like I kept saying to Davi when we were filming, I was like, we're not making Shakespeare here. We just it's entertainment. Like if you come out of it and you're like, that was fun.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all we wanted.
Right. You've hit some chord in that person where if they're not too heavy on horror, for example, at least they got their chuckles in. Or if they're not too heavily, like, for example, my mother would never ever go out to the theater unless it was a horror movie. She only felt as though she could get her money's worth if she went to a horror movie. And so that was, I kind of took that on to a degree as well. But that's just what I'm saying. It's like if somebody who's maybe not looking for the comedy, but they're looking for the horror, if they can get that in a comedic type movie or vice versa, I feel as though as a filmmaker, you probably, giving yourself a pat on the back, a little.
That's certainly what I'm hoping for. I don't know if you guys notice it or if it's even obvious, but sort of the tone of Dead by Midnight starts off sort of like comedy, and then it progresses, it just gets darker and darker. And that was sort of the tone that we wanted to do, was take them in, get them entertained, and then sort of hunker down for your day threes and your blind sides.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, definitely.
You guys did a great job.
Yeah, Blindside and Day 3 especially. Lost Laundry is sort of where the comedy starts. So it's there sort of in the setup, I feel like. But then by the time you get to Day 3 and Blindside, you're fully immersed in the creepy, disturbing
that
stuff.
was sort of the gist. And now for the second one, we haven't really discussed tone. Like that was a big thing. Like. And this is just some, inside baseball, but a lot of things we talk about are just tone of it. And for example, the one thing that we always struggle with is the trailer. Like, how do you convey, what the tone is in a trailer if it's sort of this mixed thing? If it's horror, then you can hit them with a horror trailer. Or if it's comedy, you hit them with a comedy trailer. But if it's in the middle, you run that risk of it's either like a parody or it's like, campy, super campy and over the top. And ours isn't really any of that. So tone is really a tricky dance when it comes to something that's, I guess with any film, but especially with something we really struggled with to make sure that we, we're consistent in messaging in terms of like, even the poster, like that was something we talked to Daniel a lot about, was we want it to be something that looks visually good, but also we don't want it to be like the scariest thing anyone has ever seen or the silliest thing anyone has ever seen.
That's a great point that you bring up, Tony, because I was literally just thinking about the cover of Dead by Midnight, and you see the mistress's face and just the whole
The
80s vibe, the look of it. There's a lot of emotions for me personally when I first saw it that I was like, man, this looks really scary. But it looks scary because I'm thinking of 5-year-old Corey, and like there are some scary but it's like
Right.
I'm 37 years old now, so I really shouldn't be scared of it, but I'm really interested. So what's going on? So I totally understand what you're saying there, and I was thinking about the cover and how that just from right off the bat, if you're trying to engage somebody, having the thought process of how to do that. Kudos to you guys for really invoking those emotions just from the cover of Dead by Midnight, let alone the actual movies in themselves.
Well, thanks. I'll be honest with you. Like a lot, if not all of that credit goes to Daniel and the team that and
Shout out to Daniel.
Becca did the original poster, and like
Right.
I basically gave her like. I mean, I don't know if you guys haven't really worked with me, but I'm sort of disjointed, and I'll just throw out like, sort of like an 80s thing with a splash of this. And then Becca and Daniel sort of came together and made that, pop. I mean, that was...
Looked really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking in references, that's a big part of our life too.
Right. And we're kind of switching it up this time on Dead by Midnight too, so it's gonna be a little different this time.
Okay.
Switching it up as in amount of directors you guys are gonna have.
So right now it's looking like there's gonna be, I believe, just to give you guys a little background, one of the episodes is gonna be sort of live action mixed with animation, sort of like
sweet.
Frame Roger Rabbit.
Oh, excellent.
And that's going to be Tori directing that one.
Cool.
And then there's going to be one that's sort of like a virtual reality game that these people get trapped into. It's a medieval style game.
Oh, cool.
And that's going to be Eric Davis.
Excellent.
Then there's going to be one about some nerdy kids who are failing out of gym class, and they have to take on a wrestler after school, and it turns out to be a demon. So it's like a pro wrestling one.
Are you taking the helm on that one?
No, that's
Okay.
Jay. That
Okay.
one's going to be totally insane.
That sounds pretty epic. I like that.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. And then Anissa is doing one about a boy who won't clean his room, and basically all the junk and trash in his room creates a monster that attacks him.
That's got a nice 80s feel to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be an 80s for sure. And then Hannah Fearman, who starred in the first one, she's going to direct one, and it's about this one's pretty cool. It's about an old lady who gives all her money to a televangelist, and the family can't figure out why. And then when she finds out she's been betrayed by the televangelist, she goes and she basically takes back all of her money from the televangelist by harvesting all of his organs. And then the wraparound is going to be longer, so it's probably going to be about 30 or 40 minutes this time.
Right.
And it's going to revolve around a bunch of online sort of like YouTubers, gamers, social media people, and they sort of watch the first Dead by Midnight, and then I won't get into too much detail, but anyway, they get sort of sucked into the story, and they investigate, and they go back to WKIZ, and they learn that they have to sort of undo all of the things that were done in Dead by Midnight 1 while still fighting all the stuff that is happening in Dead by Midnight 2, and it sets up an end sort of like a boss level in a video game style between the mistress and her minions and all the forces she's gathered and all of these gamers and what they've learned.
Oh man, these sound pretty insane in a very good way.
Yeah.
I've always visioned wrestlers having a demonic side, so it's right up my dadgum alley there. And you said that Anissa am I saying that right?
Yes.
Will she be starring in her or co-starring? Because she co-starred in the previous entry that she had in Dead by Midnight, correct?
Yes, and her character will be back in the wrap.
Okay.
Huh.
Oh, very nice. Very
as
nice.
will Hannah's.
Okay,
but,
yeah, I was going to ask the mistress because mistress
Yep.
was awesome.
Yep. So
I like
she'll
the
be
mistress.
back, but they're not going to be in their individual episodes.
Gotcha.
That's all characters. And one of the things that's going to be pretty cool is in the wraparound, and it hasn't really been written yet, but in my mind, I'll just explain how it is in my mind. So take it for what it's worth. It
Go
may
for
not
it.
be this way, but basically, one of the things they have to do is they have to go back and sort of undo the old episodes, like I said. And the one that I pictured was they go back into Jersey Devil in the episode, but they actually go back before what we saw.
Uh-huh.
So it would be during when Danny's car breaks down and she's with Megan.
Right.
And their car breaks down and they're about to get attacked by the Jersey Devil, and these new characters come in and they have to destroy the Jersey Devil before any of that other stuff happens to sort of undo that.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
That's a really good tie-in to bring back or to
It's
kind
gonna
of,
be
section
fun.
off in the first one, yeah.
Right, and it's gonna be funny, and I'm gonna get with Davi again, and we're gonna write it, so that one will be really funny.
Oh, man.
The
I
other
got goosebumps in a good way, Tony.
one, yeah,
Got goosebumps in a good way, man. It
Nice.
sounds really good. Sounds the most excellent.
So that's sort of where Dead by Midnight 2 is heading.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. So just to wrap this up, I guess we've got Dead by Midnight 1.0. I guess right now it's just Dead by Midnight. That's coming this Halloween season, and then will be released throughout December, I think. Correct?
Yep.
Cool. And that's 6 episodes. And
Yep.
okay.
And there's also, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they're doing. We hooked up with this Broke Horror, who's doing a VHS release of it too.
Right. Yeah, I heard
So
about
that's-
that. I heard some rumors of that. So that
Yeah,
went
so
through.
that's gonna be really cool too.
Excellent.
Nice.
That is good news.
VHS. Oh, the days.
Yeah.
Yeah, Be Kind, Rewind.
Be
which
kind,
Exactly.
rewind.
became a big part of the marketing of Dead by Midnight.
Yeah, and it's funny because that was in all the notes I gave, that was the only note I gave to Becca. I was like, "Hey Becca, they used to have this sticker that said Be Kind, Rewind," and she's like, "I don't know if I've seen that." And we went out and found that sticker, and I was like, "That's it.
That's
the
it.
one."
You used to get charged for that.
Yeah, I
You
was gonna
get
say
charged.
like a buck or
Yeah.
something. That's
Yep.
expensive back in the 80s.
Yeah. All right, so Dead by Midnight this Halloween season, and then
Funny.
look forward to Pretty Funny.
Pretty funny.
That'll be coming soon, right around the corner, I hope.
Yep.
Yeah, I think top of the year is when U42 is planning on releasing that.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then Dead by Midnight 2 will take up a better part of your 2019.
Yep, for sure.
Cool. That sounds great. Well,
Yeah.
Tony, thanks for spending
This
some
has
time
been
with us
really
on this
good.
Friday.
Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
man,
the
thank
insight,
you.
man. And the
Yep.
stories are really, really awesome. And we're definitely looking forward to all the projects that are laid out before you.
Yep, and as always,
Yeah.
give us a shout if you need any effects or any help at all.
Anything, we're
We
here.
We definitely will. So be ready.
All
Awesome
right.
sauce, boss.
Cool. Thanks, Tony.
All right, take
Thanks,
it easy,
guys.
man.
See you
Yeah.
later.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace. Be-doop. Be-bom-bom.
And a 3% battery.
That's because you talk too much.
I never shut up.
Nope. No, you don't.
You want to leave us with?
Sometimes you need to realize that when you talk too much, that means you're not listening out of your butt. But instead, you should be answering with your nostrils.
I was going to ask you for a quote, but there we go. That's good.
That's Corey McClammy, circa 2018,
All right.
in the year of our Lord.
So what are we going to do tonight?
I'm going to leave now because I still have other work to do.
No, but tonight, after work, what are we going to do?
I'm going to go and do work, and then I'm going to go and do my other work because I'm a hard worker.
Yeah, but I figured we'd spend some quality time this weekend.
This is all the quality time you get with me. This QT is over. Don't cry. It's gonna be okay.
It's not going to be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
Please don't do this to me.
All right, I'm getting out.
Where are you going?
I'm leaving now. This is over.
I love you.
All right, goodbye.
You're the
Hang
greatest. Don't. You had to get that in there, didn't you?
Yep. There you go.
You're a jerk.
Yeah, love that. Love that. Oh, I can't get out of
I'm
here.
gonna miss you when you leave me. You can't. You get too old to even get out of a chair. What's wrong with you? You're a young man.
My body's empty. My life.
Just remember, be kind.
Rewind.
Rewind.